In today's video, I'm going to be telling you how I passed my G2 test and how you guys can too. Hey guys, it's CrafTea. I am 17 and I got my license in April of 2021 when I was 16 years old. A little background on this video. Where I live in Canada, it is a graduated licensing system, which basically just means you don't get your full license right away, which is definitely safer and to me makes more sense for new drivers. So it goes G1, G2, and then your full G. Full G means you've had your license for a while and you don't have any restrictions on you. I will put any of the information that I can find on the screen because I haven't memorized all of it. I know, what a terrible YouTuber. G2 is what I have, which is basically like your full G. You just haven't had your license for that long. And then G1 is the basic test. It has no road driving skills. It is just a word test that you take, and then you can drive with a driver who has been driving for 4 years and who also has their license, obviously. Again, I will put all the information that I find on the screen if you would like to know more, but that's just a little background on this video and why it's a G2. I am pretty sure I got my license in April of this year, but if I'm wrong, again, I will put it on the screen when I actually did get it. But before I get into the tips of how I passed my G2, I filmed a little bit on the day that I got my G2, so I will put that in right now.
Okay? Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Since February, when they open, all my students go for the road test, everyone passed.
My older sister is going to be doing her lessons, and I told her
So you get the first, right?
Yeah, I got mine
oh,
first.
For her. Turn around. Let me see your eyes. You're not crying. You won't tell me if you passed or not. I asked that you got
Oh. I got in the car. I think she felt nervous. And she was like, don't worry, don't be nervous. I have another student. She's way worse than you and she's not. That's literally.
You wanna go for a drive?
No, this is a failed certificate actually. I'm going to get coffee. You want to come?
Oh my gosh, yes.
All by ourselves.
Wait, really?
Okay, but we just have to make sure that your insurance is on.
Okay,
Oh,
I need
shoot,
to pee
yeah.
and put.
I forgot about insurance. Maybe I should just take
Oh my
mine.
gosh, so you can like drive me places.
I'm gonna get one original iced coffee and then a mocha ice cap, also in a medium. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay, we did it. Successful. Woo! Thanks for. This is the setup. Got the camera there, 10 minutes. I'm in the driver's seat. I have the jankiest tripod ever. I'm not gonna show you me too much because I look kind of ugly. I just wanted to come in because I got something in the mail today. I'm gonna pull this up because I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna have to blur everything. Driver's license information. There it is. I look so ugly. I wish I got another picture taken. I mean, I look ugly here, but I also look ugly in my picture. That's what I'm trying to say. That's my photo. Yay, I finally got it. Okay, I am back. That was the little vlog of me getting my G2. As you can tell, I was very excited. But learning about insurances and how much they cost was definitely a little bit of a stressor for me. I do not have my own car, even though I would like to. I drive my family's minivan. I am the coolest kid on the block, I know, right? Anyway, that's kind of useless information. Let's get into the tips. I do have to say, I am one person. I am not a licensed driving instructor. I am just a student who has taken the courses and who has gotten her G2. So do not take what I say as perfect fact. These are just some tips that helped me and I passed. So they are tips that helped me pass and will hopefully help you pass as well. Anyway, without any more rambling, let's get into my tips. Now, my biggest tip to getting your G2 and passing your test successfully on the first try is to take driving lessons. Now, that might sound extra obvious or completely not obvious, but just as it wouldn't be smart to take a school exam without getting taught on the subject, you shouldn't take a driving test without being taught the subject before you take it. You should get taught proper driving before you take the driving test, is basically what I'm saying. You obviously don't have to go to some super expensive driving school. I personally did not go to a very expensive one, and I still got a whole bunch of tips by taking the lessons. Wherever you live, you can definitely find some cheaper alternatives to driving schools that will still be very helpful. And why this is so important and how it was important for me, if I had any questions about the test, where to turn, where it's not okay to stop, how to hold your hands properly on the steering wheel, basically, if you have never driven at all, learning how to use a car, for me, having my instructor there was really helpful. And I would just randomly have questions during the week when I wasn't taking my lessons, and I'd write them down. And then when I saw my teacher, I'd ask her all these questions and she'd have the answers for me, which is so helpful. That is a huge thing, because when you're taking the test, your tester will like to see these like little things that you know, because then it'll actually seem like you have done your research and you have actually taken the time to learn proper driving etiquette and what is the proper thing to do in certain situations. As I said, I think this is the biggest tip that I can tell you, because it is the thing that I did that really helped me and it made me pass on my first time. By the way, I didn't mention, but your G2 is a driving test, which means you have a car and you have your tester in the car with you while you're driving around wherever they'll take you. And that leads me into my second tip. Drive through the driving test route as many times as you possibly can so that you can get well acquainted with the area that you will be driving on your test, so that in these certain situations, like let's say on a road that you're driving on your test, there's a huge pothole. If you've never driven on that part of the road, you won't know that there's a giant pothole, and you won't know whether you're supposed to go around it, straight through it, slowly, slow down, brake, whatever. So make sure you drive your test route as much as possible. And if you're like,
Teagan, how do I get my testing route? Like, isn't that private information?
well, that is why you have a teacher. She literally would tell me when I got in the car and she was taking me somewhere, she'd be like, this is the exact route that you are taking on your test. And that is so helpful. That is priceless information to know if you want to pass your test. You also get really well acquainted with the road, not just in potholes, but in where the stop signs are, where parked cars are, where you're gonna have to turn and yield to oncoming traffic. And your teacher will help you learn what you're supposed to do in those situations, so that when you're doing your test, you won't have any awkward situations where your tester is gonna have to tell you, don't do that, because that is basically an automatic fail. My third tip is to practice driving every day. A lot of these are just common sense, because if you were taking a test in everyday life, you would obviously study for your test if you wanted to pass. You'd probably be studying every day so that you'd know what you're doing on your test. So just like any normal math exam, the driving exam you want to practice for. So when I was leading up to taking my test, I was driving literally every single day. And since I only had my G1, I had to have my parent in the car with me. So it was a whole situation to have to drive one of my parents in the car, but I still did it because it is so important to know how to use a car properly. I know, common sense, right? But a lot of people don't do that, and they just jump in the car and expect that they know how to drive properly without practicing or without knowing anything that will help them pass the test. Because the more you drive, the better you'll get. It is literally as simple as that. And as I've said, I don't know all the answers and all the perfect tips for you to pass your G2, and I also haven't been driving for very long. So it's good to try to get a teacher with a lot of experience. And you also, just like picking the perfect partner, because I know all about that. You don't have to settle on just one driving instructor. I was placed with a male driving instructor, and he did nothing wrong, but it was just not the best fit for me, and his teaching style didn't really match up with how I like to learn. So I asked my driving school if I could get a new teacher, and they assigned me with the teacher that I did all of my lessons with, and she was great. And even though my first driving instructor was way higher rated than the driving instructor that I ended up going with, I didn't like him as much as the next driving instructor that I got. A thing that I did when I was taking my test is that since the smallest vehicle that we have is a minivan, I rented my teacher's car for the test. So I was driving her car on the test, which is a much smaller car, which makes it easier to parallel park and basically just to turn in every direction. And even though I will typically be driving with my minivan for the test, why would you make something harder on yourself when you can make it easier on yourself? That is a saying that I say. That is such a good saying. I've heard of people who have taken their gigantic commercial-sized vehicles for their G2 test, and I'm just like, even if you're gonna be using a vehicle like that, why? Why would you take it on your test? Why wouldn't you use a car that is so much easier to drive than a huge van? Like, common sense, people. Common sense. If you have a car or a smaller vehicle that you feel more comfortable driving in, you don't have to rent it. But for me, it was not super expensive to rent it for the test, and it was super helpful. It was a much nicer car, and it drove a lot better than our van did. So that is another thing that I would recommend doing if you do not have a vehicle that you are comfortable driving in. Those are all of the tips that I have written down, but really what it comes down to is getting a teacher, practicing every day, and being comfortable in the vehicle that you are driving. So anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the little vlog of getting my G2. This video has taken me so long to film. It's been literally months, like almost 4 months since I got my G2, and I've just been putting off filming this video because I wanted it to be as informative as I could. I know I didn't go into a lot of depth about the actual test because every test is different, and I thought putting in my personal experience of taking the test would kind of not matter, because if you're taking it somewhere else, your testing experience is going to be way different than my testing experience. But I still hope this video was helpful to you, and if it was, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and also check out my YouTube, Instagram, and also my Etsy shop. To everyone watching this video, if you are trying to get your G2, good luck. I'm sure you guys are going to do great as long as you follow the tips that I gave. Oh gosh, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Maybe don't follow the tips that I gave. Maybe just take something from this video, and I hope it will help you pass. But I'm sure you guys are going to do great, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!